So Anhelo reads, the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn has casualty 2, which basically means that you can sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater to copy an instant or sorcery spell you cast. So that seems really powerful. And we did a review for some commanders in the past, and people had a lot to say. We were doing a ranking, a tier list, and people were saying Anhelo was S tier. I graded him as A tier, but I understand people's perspective. Yeah, I think that's 100. I think you're 100% right, Cole. Literally added $100 to this deck list, which is pretty intense. So we're just gonna go down and take a look at some of the cards that are inside here and just figure out like what may be the motive behind these cards. We have a Blood-Soaked Champion. So Blood-Soaked Champion is a 2/1 that you can pay 2 mana for to bring it back from the graveyard to the battlefield. Blood-Soaked Champion, I think, is a really good card inside the deck, and I think that anybody would have wanted to play this anyway, just because it's a creature you can get back that you can sacrifice it to Anhelo, and only costs 1 mana to get into play originally. So I think that this is a really solid include right here. We have a Dogged Detective. Enters the battlefield, Surveil 2. Costs 2 mana, it's a 2/1. Whenever an opponent draws a second card each turn, you may return... What? From your graveyard to your hand? Okay. That's a good card. That's a really good card. So that says Surveil 2. So Surveil basically means that whenever you're allowed to look at the top 2 cards of your library. If you want them, you can keep them there. If not, you can just put them into your graveyard. So I don't know if this deck has any graveyard synergies, but I think that would be pretty cool. Because of the Surveil here, I'm already imagining that you play a detective, Surveil 2, put 2 just, you know, Jingataxis in the graveyard, for example, cast a reanimation spell, sack the Dodge Detective, and then for 1 reanimation spell, you can reanimate 2 bomb creatures. That's probably how I'm going to build this deck, honestly. Next card we have over here is Goblin Electromancer. This says instant sorcery spells cost 1 less to cast. Okay, so it's decent. It's a good card. We have a Sinister Concierge. Whenever this goes away, you may exile it and put 3 time counters on it. If you do, exile up to 1 target creature and put 3 time counters on it. Each card exiled this way that doesn't have suspend gave suspend. Okay, so you just get... One second, let me just make sure. So you get to remove a creature with this creature. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's a decent card. I mean, for 2 mana on a wizard, I would put this inside the wizard tribal. Yo, it's good, Clay. Yo, it's good, dude. But I would definitely play this inside my wizard tribal commander deck. That's a good card. Skyclave, Shade. Yo, this deck is actually pretty good. I'm gonna be honest. They have a lot of creatures that you can reuse over and over again. We have a Skyclave Shade. This one you're allowed to replay after you put a land onto the battlefield. You're generally gonna be playing lands. So I think that works out really well. And for 2 mana, a 3/1. I mean, early on in the game, like I can just hit people for 3 damage over and over again. I think 3 is a pretty good amount of power. So, the Spellbinding Soprano. Okay. Whenever this creature attacks instant or sorcery spells you cast this turn cost 1 less to cast. It has Encore, which is automatically what I was thinking about doing with the card. Encore means you exile it, you create as many copies as you have opponents, and they attack. So essentially, if you have 3 opponents, just spells in general, you cast this turn, cost 1 less to cast. Wow. You know, I would really enjoy putting this card into... I don't know if you guys ever played Brutaclad or ever heard of Brutaclad before. But Brutaclad would be awesome with that card right there. Because Brutaclad plays a ton of copying spells that cost a ton of mana. But just Having a ton of these in Brutaclad would be awesome. We have Squee. It's good. You may cast Squee from your graveyard or from exile. 3 mana, 2/1. Yo, I'm gonna be really honest with I think they released on the 29th of this month, Clay. But they did a really good job building the creature base inside this deck. We have the Woe Strider over here. When it enters the battlefield, create a 0/1 white goat. Sacrifice a creature, scry 1. You can reuse this creature. I think that's the big theme with this deck right now. This deck only has 14 creatures inside of it, but you can reuse this. You can reuse this. You could reuse that. You could reuse that. So you're getting a lot out of the creatures that you have, which is pretty cool. So this is a new commander. Oh, this is the one where you pay 1 mana to make 3 mana. And then when it goes away, you return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. I would probably take this card out of the deck. We have Kess, Dissident Mage. Oh, yo, Kess is a good card. During each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If you cast... Yeah, that's just great. The Kindling Phoenix is another card you can reuse over and over again. Cyrix, Carrier of the Flame. Oh, this is a new card. Oh, this is a legendary creature. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature card left your graveyard this turn, target Phoenix you control. This is a Phoenix Tribal Commander. Whoa, dude. I finally have something to do with my Phoenixes. Whenever another Phoenix you control dies, you may cast from the... Does it have haste? It does. Oh, Phoenix Tribal. That's interesting. Parnice, the Subtle Brush. Oh, this is the one that forces people to take damage. It's a good card. And then Puppeteer Click. This is what I was talking about. It says enters the battlefield, put target creature from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield. I mean, it does have persist, so essentially you'd be able to sack it to Anhelo to copy a spell and then get it back again. I think it's a good include for 5 mana. I don't know. I think back in the day, people played a lot more cards that were much more like bombs. I think just looking at it and thinking that you're going to get a powerful creature from this, people's mana value or mana cost is generally really low. So I find that taking stuff from people's graveyards isn't as efficient as it once was. Like when I played Magic like 5 years ago, it's changed. So we have a Ponder, $2.51. It's a nice card over here. So I'm just going to go through these. If we see a spell that's new, it says Casualty 1. Power, oh, sacrifice a creature with power 1 or greater to do that. That's pretty cool. So it's varying, I suppose. A Damnable Pact, Dread Summons. I always take this card out of my commander decks. I never really play this card. We have Feed the Swarm. Bedevil. This is what? What is that? Body count. Draw a card for each creature that died under your control this turn. Spectacle. If an opponent lost life this turn, you can pay 1 black mana for it. Ooh, that's... Yo, that's a good card, guys. That goes like in every single... At instant speed? Yeah, that goes like in every... For some reason, I thought that said Foretell. That would be pretty cool if I had that. If it had that ability with Foretell. What's good, Merrick? Sounds good, buddy. Frantic Search, Maestro's Charm. Oh, I gotta get a hold of all these charms to put inside the my Gigantha commander deck. Okay, Waste Management. Exile up to 2 cards from a single graveyard. If the spell was kicked, create tokens. I mean, if you need creatures to sack, and you get to exile cards from a graveyard, I guess. I probably wouldn't play that. We have an Audacious Swap. The owner of target non-enchantment permanent shuffles it into their library, then exiles top card of the library. If it's a land card, put it into the battlefield. Otherwise, they may cast it without paying its mana cost. So it's like it's Chaos Warp. That's pretty cool. That's actually really good that they kind of reprinted Chaos Warp. Okay, drawn from dreams. We have make an example. Each opponent separates the creatures they control into 2 piles. For each opponent, you choose one of their piles. Each opponent sacrifices the creature in their chosen pile. So it's like fact or fiction for creatures at sorcerer speed. Sever the bloodline. I'm a huge fan of flashbacking, exiling spells. I think exiling commander is just exiling. Getting your creatures exiled stinks. So we have, oh, this card. I'll take this card out of the deck immediately. I mean, maybe you can casualty this to get 4 2/2s to then potentially just have a ton of creatures to. Maybe that's a way you can build the commander deck, actually. Maybe you can. I have there's a ton of spells that you can cast to then create tokens. But what if the entire deck was filled with sorcery or instant speed spells that made creature tokens that you sack to then. You sack a creature, one creature, mind you, to cast a creature token spell to then make like 6 tokens, and then you can use 1, you keep 5, and just keep amassing tokens that way. Just a thought. I legitimately may build the deck that way. We have Flawless Forgery. Okay. You can exile and then cast a spell from an opponent's graveyard. Mystic Confluence, great card. Cinder Split's Judgment, that's a good card. This is $8 right here. It says choose 3. Okay. Target creature gets -3/-3. Goad each creature target player controls. Have I ever seen a sorcery speed spell that forces your opponents to goad? I don't know. Reign of the Pit. That card's alright. River's Rebuke. This card wins games. Dude, River's Rebuke is a really nice card. We have Xander's Pact. Each opponent exiles the top card of the library. You may cast spells from among those cards this turn. Oh, this turn. Okay, so you just pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying. Okay. That's not bad, actually. I thought you had to pay your own mana to do that. But see, this is what I was talking about right here. This literally says, creative 5/5, blue and red elemental creature token with flying. Like, you literally could just pay 7 mana and get 10 power, essentially, because you create 2. And then if you play the enchantments that automatically copy your spells, then you'd pay 7 mana and get 15 power with flying on the board. Which just seems... And then you could protect them with counter spells. It just seems so good. More. Look, Army of the Damned. Create 13. Oh, I'm just going to casually make 26 2/2 zombies. If I copy that. Ooh, this is a great commander. I'm going to tell everyone right now, if you want to buy a commander deck, I'm going to tell you, if you are an experienced Magic the Gathering player, that sounds good, Clay. Clay, we may go over that commander deck today. But I was going to say, like, if you're someone who's brand new to Magic the Gathering, I don't know if this commander deck, I would suggest that you play this one, because it seems kind of, there's a lot of parts to it, so it's not straightforward and simple. But if you're someone who, I mean, been playing the game for a while, if you got Magic the Gathering tattoos on your arm, yeah, you probably want to play this commander deck. This commander deck seems incredibly fun. And just because of the way Anhelo plays, there's so many different ways to play around that. or to build around that, which is just allows you to be really creative. I think this is just a great card. Totally, I'm telling you guys right now, this is the first one that I'm gonna be commander deck I'm buying. So we have Soul Ring, that Clone Legion, Dig Through Time. Dig Through Time is a good card. Mirror Signet. Okay, so see, here we go. If you would copy a spell one or more times, instead of copy it that many times, plus an additional time. See, so you're playing cards that create more copies if you copy, which is good. We have Determined Iteration. At the beginning of combat on your turn, populate. Oh, dude, this is total. For 2 mana, the tokens created this way gains haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Ooh, this is totally play. This is Brutaclad right here. We have Cryptic Pursuit. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, manifest the top card of your library. Whenever face down creature you control dies, exile it. I don't know if I would play that. I mean, it gives you 2/2s. Oh, Double Vision, they have it inside here. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell, copy it. Yeah, that's perfect. Rite of the Raging Storm. I mean, this gives you a creature to sack. It forces your opponents to attack each other with those tokens. I would probably just take this card out of the deck and put it into another deck. We have Extravagant Replication. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control. Guys, this is the best card in the deck. This is the best card in the deck. I mean, other than the commander, this card is amazing. It's not even a legendary enchantment, so I can make a of another target. I was gonna say, I just make a copy of this. I would still just make a copy of this. I'll find a way. That's a great card. Okay. So if I could give this deck a rating out of 10, I would give this. Wow, I think this deck out of the box is fire. I think for precons, I would give this deck an 8 out of 10. I'd say that the deck, and mind you, I'm rarely going to give things 9s or 10s, but I think that the way that the deck flows, it already has ways to make copies. This card is actually amazing. I would rate this an 8 out of 10. The artifacts, the mana base look pretty good. It has a ton of creatures that you can reuse over and over again. You totally, if you're looking to purchase a commander deck, I would totally suggest, if you like these colors, picking up this commander deck. This commander deck is phenomenal.